Alright, welcome back to Skill Evaluation Series. I decided to bring up my alt team and think of, well, what do their skills look like now that we've set some baselines with our main team? I don't quite spend as much time on the alt team. Actually, frankly, I spend less than a quarter of the time on the alt team. That'll change at some point. But wanted to see what data can show. I had saved the data, but I hadn't compiled it, so I went back and looked at 5 weeks worth of data and compiled it. I have one SIG, so Springer, and then a prime Ensberg. I got a few batters with Master Base Thief, so that kind of throws off some of the analysis sometimes. So you got Springer, Altuve, and Castro. Well, Springer and Altuve have the same skill set when it comes to batting. And then Brantley and Gurriel have the same skill set. So Brantley's got pinpoint a little bit too, and he's got kind of got two bites at the apple to get a Master Base Thief bonus. So if Castro gets on, then Springer might get on. So I would expect Brantley to outperform that slope that we talked about last week, but Springer and Altuve should hold up pretty good because Castro's not getting on too often. So let's see, does the slope of the line remain constant? And yes, it does. Altuve to Springer, 4%, so 0.4% per weighted training. That's almost identical to what we saw with the Mets team with Walker and Hojo and McNeil. And Brantley, it's a little steeper of a slope, 5.3, so that's in line with expectations. You know, he's getting that little boost from the extra Master Base Thief. So I was lucky enough not to move these guys around in batting order much. So now let's plot everybody else. So if we plot everybody else, now we can see how skills compare. So if you look at the fine diagonal gray lines, you can compare skill to skill. So Gurriel's Charisma and Legend is a little better than Bell's Prediction Legend. Pujols' prediction and AO is ain't over. Actually performing a little better than Ensberg's batting machine and training junkie. And think about it, Castro has Legend Master Base Thief. He doesn't see any benefit. He's one of the two players that doesn't see any benefit of Master Base Thief. And that's performing better than batting machine alone. That's a bit of a surprise. Now there is a little bit of a curve to the line, so we talked about a straight line because it's easier to see. But if we look at the little bit of a polynomial for where the actual curve is, and then we overlay the straight line, we can see there's a little bit of a gap. So about 35 points, and remember I've multiplied OPS by 1,000 just to make the numbers a little clearer. So 35, and then you're talking about a difference about 70 weighting training. So you got about, for every 2 weighting training, it's going to sort of drop 1. So if we make some adjustments for Master Base Thief, I had previously said it's worth about 0.05 OPS. So we make some adjustments. So Castro's Legend gets to about there, right in line with Master Base Thief. Um, so the little blue dot coming down, that's where my guesstimate is of where it would be without the Master Base Thief bonus. And I made it a little longer for Brantley and Pujols, and they see um, that seems to be now in line pretty well. Um, so that's kind of interesting. Like, is Legend a lot better than what we had said? Is Master Base Thief? I mean, is Batting Machine not nearly as good? So far, the still the top here is Charisma Legend. So Charisma's still good, but Legend might be better than people had said. Um, so that's kind of interesting. So if we're constantly playing with this batting tier uh, level, does Legend move up? This is what I flashed up last week, but does Legend move up? Does Batting Machine move down? Um, I'm not totally confident to say one thing definitively, but I definitely know Batting Machine does not belong in the S tier like that original Reddit guide showed. It's not nearly as good as Charisma. So, all right. Now the next thing we did was comparing relief pitchers. So we had two relief pitchers. Blevins with Mess Fixer Cleanup Killer and Clippard with Boss Fixer Cleanup Killer. Blevins is a 68 base, Clippard 65. You can see there's a big training difference, so much higher velocity, specifically and fastball for Blevins. So he's got a big advantage there. Both put him in the middle reliever spot, so that means when you're losing, they come in. So I wonder who did better. So let's look at the stats. And the other thing I did in order to accommodate the experiment was I moved Lugo into the long reliever spot. So he was a beast in the past few weeks in the middle reliever spot with this skill setup. So let's look at stats here. So Clippard here is outperforming Blevins by a good margin. Now you only have, you have less innings than is desirable, but it's what you got to work with. And Lugo is substantially higher than previous weeks, 2.86. Again, only 50 innings pitched, but here's him last week, 1.34. So I think Fixer is a very useful skill, or winning streak, I think. Familia's just going in. He was in down condition most of the week, so he was in the long reliever spot while Robles was in the mix. So Robles has Untouchable and what's his other skill? So when he went into, they sort of switched in Giant Killer. So that's kind of interesting. So in the middle, in the relief pitcher, Boss is significantly better than Mess. And Clippard with Boss, Boss and Fixer is performing about as well as Lugo did last week with Mess, Pitching Machine, and Fixer. So you're definitely giving a significant bonus to Boss there. It's pretty clear. So, and then our starting pitchers still holding a similar pattern. Harvey is definitely clear and above, week on week better. Mats, Arrieta, and Mats, Arrieta, and Syndergaard tend to bounce around a bit. So, where you have Arrieta with Mess and Pitching Machine, he's usually the number 2, despite him not being teamed. So, Mess seems to work better on a starting pitcher. He's got Boss Untouchable. And then Syndergaard has Boss and Pitching Machine. And then I have Porcello in here right now. He's got a great skill set, but he's not a diamond. So I think that plus the fact that he's a 67 base. I mean, there's no, at some point there's no substitute for skills. So, but he's got 4.06 ERA. So definitely a weak spot on that 5th pitcher. Anyway, I hope this is helpful for you all. I'll be continuing this series, but I thought it was pretty revealing. Batting machine versus a legend. So let me know if you have any questions. Eventually I'm going to get going on that alt team a little more and try and change some skills, and we can see what happens. All right, later.